Let's be real. You've probably fantasized about instantly mastering any skill, like snapping your fingers and suddenly knowing it all. Maybe it was learning how to do a backflip to impress your crush in middle school, or picking up guitar, piano, running faster, jumping higher. Anything that would make you stand out. But now, as teenagers or young adults, our learning goals have shifted. We want skills that will benefit us long term. Things like business, languages, tech, or sports. The problem? Most of us are terrible at learning efficiently. And honestly, it's not our fault. School conditioned us to memorize facts for tests, only to forget them the moment we walked out of the classroom. But memorization isn't true learning. Real learning is about understanding, applying, and internalizing knowledge until it becomes second nature. Think about the last time you tried to learn something, maybe a new language, a musical instrument, or coding. What was your approach? Chances are you crammed, read a ton, or watched countless tutorials, and yet nothing really stuck. Why? Because most of us focus too much on passive intake, reading, watching, listening, when we should be prioritizing output, doing, practicing, and teaching. It's like trying to learn to swim by reading about swimming. You might understand the theory, but the moment you hit the water, you'll sink. Learning is hands-on. You have to get involved. Now let's set the record straight. Not everything you learn is equally important. The 80-20 rule, also known as the Pareto principle, says that 80% of your results come from just 20% of your efforts. Applied to learning, this means focusing on the core fundamentals that deliver the biggest impact. Want to learn a new language? Forget memorizing 10,000 words. Learn the 1,000 most common ones since they make up 80% of daily conversations. Want to play guitar? Master the basic chords before tackling complex solos. The key is to nail the essentials first. Everything else becomes easier after that. One powerful technique to speed up learning is active recall. Instead of just reviewing information, you actively test yourself on it. It's an old but highly effective method, especially for studying. Let's say you're trying to learn history. Instead of rereading the same paragraph about World War II for the 10th time, close the book and try recalling the key points from memory. This forces your brain to work harder, strengthening your memory. Think of it like lifting weights. Just looking at dumbbells won't build muscle. You have to pick them up and put in the effort, but don't mistake effort for overload. Cramming might feel productive in the moment, but it's a short-term fix. A better approach is the spacing effect, spreading out study sessions over time. Ideally 30 to 60 minutes a day throughout the week. Why? Because each time you revisit a topic, your brain has to retrieve that information, reinforcing the neural pathways. Think of it like carving a trail in the woods. The first time, it's rough and overgrown, but with each pass, it becomes clearer and easier to follow. Instead of cramming for 6 hours in one go, break it into 6 one-hour sessions over a week. Your brain and sanity will thank you. And remember, real learning is hands-on. Back to the swimming analogy, you have to get in the water. To learn faster, you need to practice. But not just any practice, deliberate practice. That means focusing on the areas where you struggle rather than just repeating what you already know. It's uncomfortable, but that's where real growth happens. If you're learning to draw, don't just sketch the same anime character over and over. Challenge yourself with hands, faces, different perspectives, whatever gives you the most trouble. It'll be frustrating at first, but your progress will be much faster. Another underrated way to accelerate learning. Teach it. Sounds counterintuitive, right? How can you teach something you don't fully understand yet? That's the point. Teaching forces you to structure your thoughts and explain concepts clearly, deepening your understanding and exposing knowledge gaps. Plus, if the person you're teaching asks questions, you'll have to think critically and problem solve. You don't need an actual student. Just record yourself explaining the topic as if you're making a YouTube video. The thought of hundreds of people potentially watching will push you to understand it better. Another powerful tool? Engage multiple senses. Your brain loves variety, and the more senses you involve, the stronger your memory retention. Learning Spanish? Don't just read vocabulary. Listen to native speakers, watch Spanish content, write words down, and say them out loud. The more sensory input, the better your recall. Think of it like building a house. The more materials you use, the stronger it becomes. And don't forget, learning doesn't have to be boring. The more fun you have, the faster you'll improve. Set small goals, reward yourself, turn learning into a game. Compete with a friend, use apps that track your progress, earn virtual badges. It might sound trivial, but your brain thrives on dopamine. Every small achievement triggers a dopamine release, keeping you motivated to keep going. That said, be mindful of distractions. While learning apps can help, they can also tempt you to switch to TikTok or YouTube. To stay focused, silence notifications, close unnecessary tabs, and create a distraction-free environment. Multitasking might make you feel productive, but it's a myth. Your brain can only focus on one thing at a time. So instead of half reading a book while scrolling Instagram, give your full attention to the task at hand. And here's something we often overlook: rest. Sleep and breaks are just as important as effort. Your brain needs downtime to process and solidify new information. During sleep, your brain organizes everything you've learned, strengthening important connections and clearing out the unnecessary ones. So if you're pulling all-nighters, you're actually sabotaging yourself. Taking regular breaks during study sessions boosts productivity too. Your brain, like a muscle, needs time to recover after intense use. Finally, let's talk about mindset. If you believe you're bad at learning, you'll struggle. Simple as that. But if you adopt a growth mindset, the belief that you can improve with effort, you'll be amazed at what you can achieve. Instead of thinking, "I can't do this," say, "I can't do this yet." That one word changes everything, shifting your mindset from failure to potential. At the end of the day, learning isn't just about acquiring skills, it's about growing as a person. And that, my friend, is what truly matters.